All right, so, we love to take deep dives into all sorts of interesting financial stuff, and you sent over some research on this GTPR token, specifically their buyback and burn strategy, and I gotta admit, sounds pretty intriguing. Luckily, we've got an expert here to, break this all down for us. Um, so before we get into the specifics of GTPR itself, can you kind of give us a quick overview of, the challenge of value when it comes to cryptocurrency? Like, why is it so hard to maintain?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it really comes down to finding a balance. You see, the crypto market is like notoriously volatile, right?
Hmm.
Hype can drive prices through the roof one day, and then they can come crashing down the next. And so what GDPR is trying to do with this buyback and burn thing, it's like trying to create a model that's more sustainable and stable. It's a little different from your average meme coin.
Okay, so you said meme coin. Just for our listener out there, can you quickly explain what a meme coin is and how GTPR might be different?
Sure. So meme coins, they're basically cryptocurrencies that gain popularity mostly through like online hype and community engagement. So, think Dogecoin or Shiba Inu. They often start as kind of a joke or like a reference to, internet culture. And while GDPR definitely has a strong community aspect, it's trying to set itself apart with this whole buyback and burn mechanism. Think of it this way. You're probably familiar with how companies buy back their own stock to try to increase the value. Well, this is kind of similar, but like way more extreme. Because with this, those tokens are gone forever.
So they're literally burning money to make more money. It sounds a little counterintuitive.
Not exactly burning money. It's more like destroying tokens. It's all about reducing the supply to potentially increase the value of the remaining tokens. It's kind of like, imagine you have like a limited edition comic book. As fewer and fewer copies exist, the price of each one tends to go up, right?
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So it's creating that sense of scarcity, like owning a piece of a shrinking pie.
Hmm.
But how does this actually work in practice? Like, is it just a theory, or are they actually doing this?
No, this isn't just some theoretical thing. It's actually tied to GoTapper, which is the gaming platform behind GTPR. And they have all these different revenue streams, things like in-game purchases and auction fees and booster sales. And a portion of that revenue is specifically allocated to buying back GTPR tokens.
So the fact that this burn is tied directly to player activity is actually really clever. It's like creating a direct link between the game's success and the value of the token.
Exactly. And then those purchased tokens are sent to this like digital wallet that nobody can access.
Yeah.
They're effectively removed from circulation. So basically, the more players engage with GoTapper, the more GTPR gets burned. And in theory, the more valuable the remaining tokens become.
Yeah, it's like this deflationary spiral, but in a good way. I'm starting to see why you're so excited about this. But wouldn't a limited supply make it harder for new people to get involved? How does GCPR balance that scarcity with accessibility?
Well, that's a really good question. And it's something that, any potential investor should think about. The success of any cryptocurrency, I think, depends on finding that sweet spot, that balance between scarcity and accessibility.
So we've been talking about meme coins and how GTPR is kind of aiming for something a bit more sustainable. But what's the big picture here? Why would someone choose to invest in GTPR over, say, like a Bitcoin or Ethereum?
That's a fascinating question. I think what's interesting here is that GTPR, it combines the appeal of a meme coin, the fun, the community, the viral potential. But it also has this robust economic model that's designed for sustainability. And unlike, Bitcoin or Ethereum, GTPR actually has utility within the GoTapper platform. Like players needed to participate in auctions or to buy special boosters or to access certain premium features. So it's creating real demand. It's not just hype-driven speculation.
Okay, so it's not just a speculative asset. It has this real purpose within this GoTapper ecosystem. But let's bring it back to our listener for a second. What are the potential benefits of actually holding GTPR? What's in it for them?
Well, as we've discussed, this buyback and burn mechanism should, in theory, lead to an increase in the token's value over time because of that scarcity factor. So as fewer tokens are left in circulation, the ones that do exist, they become more desirable and therefore potentially more valuable.
Right, it's all about supply and demand. And this actually ties into another potential benefit, right? Hedging against inflation. So unlike tokens that have an unlimited supply that are constantly being printed out of thin air, GTPR's controlled supply coupled with this burning mechanism makes it potentially more resilient to inflationary pressures.
That's a very compelling argument. And I think from a psychological standpoint, this strategy can actually build a lot of confidence among holders because it signals that GoTapper is committed to the long-term health and stability of GTPR. And, that can be a big differentiator in the crypto world. because it can be so unpredictable.
So it's not just about making money, it's about trusting the stability of the project, which is really important in the crypto world. But let's be realistic here, like no investment is without risk, right? So are there any potential downsides to GTPR that our listeners should be aware of?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we'll explore next. Every investment has its risks, and cryptocurrencies are definitely no exception.
All right, so stay tuned, folks, because we're about to get into the nitty-gritty of the risks and challenges that GTPR faces. This is where it gets really interesting.
You're absolutely right. Every investment has risks, and especially in the crypto world. I think with GTPR, one potential downside is that it's really reliant on, GoTapper's continued success. Because if the platform were to struggle, the revenue that's fueling that buyback and burn mechanism could dry up, and that would, directly impact the token's value.
So it's not like a guaranteed win. GDPR's fate is tied to the platform. Are there any other risks that our listeners should be aware of?
Definitely. I think another thing to consider is the overall market sentiment towards cryptocurrencies. Because even with a strategy like buyback and burn, broader market trends can still influence, how GDPR is doing. Remember, it's sentiment in the crypto space. It can change really quickly. Yeah. And that can lead to some pretty big price fluctuations.
Right. The crypto market is known for being a bit of a roller coaster. It's not for the faint of heart. Anything else that you see as a potential downside?
Well, there's always a risk of unforeseen challenges.
Right.
Like a security breach or some kind of regulatory changes, or even competition from other projects. All of those could impact, how GDPR does. It's a reminder that the crypto world is constantly changing. So staying informed is absolutely crucial.
You touched on a really important point there, competition. The crypto space is constantly evolving. New projects are popping up all the time. How does GDPR measure up against the competition? What are its strengths and weaknesses?
That's the key question for any investor. Yeah. I think one of GTPR's strengths is its integration with the GoTapper gaming platform. This gives the token real utility and a built-in demand base. The buyback and burn mechanism, as we talked about, is another big strength. That sets it apart from a lot of other meme coins.
Okay, so the utility of the token within the game is a big plus. It's not just relying on hype. What about weaknesses? Where does GTPR potentially fall short?
I think one potential weakness is GTPR's relative obscurity compared to some of the more established cryptocurrencies out there. It might take some time for it to gain wider recognition and adoption. Plus, the success of the buyback and burn mechanism, it really hinges on that continued revenue generation of GoTapper. If player engagement drops, the token's value could be affected.
It seems like visibility and maintaining a healthy player base are really key for GTPR's long-term prospects. It's a reminder that even with innovative strategies, there are always challenges to overcome. You mentioned community earlier, and it seems like the crypto community is a big part of the equation too, right? What can you tell us about the GTPR community and their role in the token's success?
Oh, absolutely. The community is a crucial aspect of any cryptocurrency. From what I've gathered, the GTPR community is actually quite active and passionate. They seem to be drawn to the fun and engaging nature of the GoTapper platform, and they genuinely believe in the token's potential. You'll find them on social media and forums and Discord, sharing their experiences and strategies and, of course, memes.
It sounds like they're really invested in the project, which is a good sign. Can you elaborate on why a strong community is so important in the crypto space?
Well, a strong community can be a powerful force in driving adoption and, supporting a token's value. They act as kind of like a decentralized marketing force, spreading awareness and attracting new users organically.
Right. Word of mouth marketing is incredibly powerful, especially in a space like crypto where trust and community validation are so important.
Exactly. And, don't underestimate the emotional aspect either. Being part of a community can make the ups and downs of crypto investing a bit more bearable.
Yeah.
It's that sense of camaraderie.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. That can make a big difference.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about the community, but the crypto landscape itself is constantly changing. What are some of the trends or developments that you're seeing that could impact GTPR and, meme coins in general?
I think one major trend is this increasing focus on utility and real-world applications. Investors are becoming more discerning. They're looking for tokens that offer more than just speculative value. And this actually bodes well for GTPR given its integration with GoTapper.
So it's not enough to just be a funny meme anymore. Tokens need to have a purpose, a function within an ecosystem. What other trends are you observing?
Another significant development is the rise of decentralized finance, or DeFi, We're seeing all these innovative platforms emerge that allow users to like lend, borrow, and trade crypto assets
Hmm.
without any intermediaries. It's a really fascinating space with the potential to disrupt traditional finance.
DeFi is definitely a hot topic in the crypto world. It's all about creating more open and accessible financial systems. So how could this potentially impact GTPR?
Well, if GTPR can successfully tap into the DeFi ecosystem, it could open up all sorts of new opportunities for growth and adoption. Imagine being able to use GTPR for lending or borrowing or even yield farming. It could add a whole new layer of utility and value to the token.
That's an exciting thought. It's like opening up a whole new world of possibilities for GTPR and its community. But, let's be realistic here. The crypto world is also a highly competitive landscape. What are some of the challenges that GTPR might face in this environment?
You bring up a crucial point. Even with these trends working in its favor, GTPR still faces challenges. I think one of the biggest ones is simply standing out from the crowd. As we mentioned earlier, it might not have the same name recognition as some of the bigger players in the crypto world. So it's going to need to find creative ways to attract new users and investors.
So marketing and community building will be key for them. It's all about getting the word out and building that passionate following. What other challenges do you foresee?
Another big challenge is navigating the regulatory landscape. As you know, crypto regulations are still evolving, and it can be difficult for projects to keep up. GTPR is going to need to stay ahead of the curve and make sure that they're complying with all applicable laws and regulations.
Absolutely. The legal and regulatory environment can be a real minefield for crypto projects. It's a constant balancing act between innovation and compliance. Any other thoughts on the challenges ahead?
Well, I think it's also really important for GTPR to continue innovating and evolving. The crypto world is all about staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Complacency can be a death knell, especially in such a fast-paced environment.
That's so true. Projects need to constantly adapt and improve to stay relevant. It's like the Red Queen's race in Alice in Wonderland. You have to keep running just to stay in the same place.
That's a perfect analogy,
Wow.
and I think it applies perfectly to the crypto world. It's such a dynamic and challenging space, but also incredibly exciting and full of potential.
Well said. So as we wrap up our discussion on the challenges and the broader context surrounding GTPR, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about what all of this means for our listener.
Okay, I think that's important. We've covered a lot of ground, so let's bring it back to the individual investor. What should our listener be thinking about as they consider GTPR?
Exactly. What are some of the key takeaways that they should keep in mind? Okay, so we've really explored the potential of GTPR, the risks involved, and the competitive landscape it operates in. For a listener who's been following along with us, what are some key takeaways they should consider before making any decisions about GTPR?
Hmm. I think the biggest takeaway is that GTPR, it represents a really unique approach within the crypto world. It combines those community-driven aspects of a meme coin with a strategy aimed at stability and long-term value.
Sure.
And, that's pretty rare to find.
Yeah, it does seem like they're trying to bridge those two worlds that are often at odds. But you've also highlighted that, no investment is without risk. And GTPR has its own set of challenges. What are some of the red flags or warning signs that our listeners should be aware of?
That's a great question. I think one thing to watch closely is the performance of that Goat Tapper platform. Because if player engagement starts to drop or if they struggle to generate revenue,
Yeah.
that would directly impact the effectiveness of that buyback and burn mechanism.
Right, because the whole system relies on that revenue stream to fuel the token burning. So doing some research into Goat Tapper itself, understanding its business model and growth potential, that would be a smart move for any potential investor. What other red flags come to mind?
I'd also pay close attention to how transparent the GTPR team is about their operations. Are they regularly communicating with the community? Are they being open about their plans and the challenges that they're facing? Lack of transparency can be a really big red flag in the crypto world.
Yeah, transparency and open communication are so important in a space that can often feel opaque and even a bit shady at times. So look for signs that the GTPR team is actively engaging with their community and being upfront about their progress, both good and bad. Any other advice for our listener before we wrap things up?
It's always a good idea to diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially in a volatile market like crypto. If you're considering GTPR, make sure it's part of a balanced portfolio.
That's really solid advice for any investment, not just crypto. Spread the risk and don't get too attached to any single asset.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here, from the